Hello and welcome to ChapterSkip. I'm Joe.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Sean, and we're bringing you movie reviews with a twist.
And today we're reviewing the movie Raze.
Raze is a 2013 chick fighting movie.
But instead of the fighters brawling into one of them submits or taps out, these fights are to the death.
And the reason that these ladies have to fight is for the amusement of a weird, diabolical husband and wife team that put on these fights for other rich and wealthy people.
Now you might ask why these ladies compete in such brutal scraps. Well, it's because they've been taken from their normal lives and locked up in cells with their loved ones being threatened to be murdered should they lose a fight. So these are some high stakes matches going on.
Raze is written, directed and produced by Josh C. Waller in his first full-length feature film.
His other work includes a few short films and a full-length feature called Mechanic, which happened to be Corey Monteith's last movie before he passed away. However, this horror fight festival film stars stuntwoman Zoe Bell.
And if you're wondering where you've heard Zoe's name before, then you'll most likely recognise her from her role in Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, where she was being driven around at high speeds on the bonnet of a car.
And she was also in Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, and both Kill Bill films. In this flick, she stars as super tough Sabrina, who was one of the unlucky 50 ladies that have been captured and forced to fight. The reason that Sabrina is fighting is because the twisted husband and wife have threatened to kill her daughter should she lose. Oh, and of course, if she loses, she dies too.
And how do we know who gets to fight who?
Well, helpfully, some text appears on screen that names the combatants for the next fight.
Why's the room gone all red?
Can we have Joe to the battle room?
Wish me luck, guys.
You're gonna need it, mate.
I repeat, Joe to the battle room.
Oh, hello little buddy, you're a cute, ain't you? You bastard, get me! The husband of this dastardly duo who makes these women fight to the death is Joseph, played by Doug Jones.
Who some of you may know as a bit of a legend when it comes to the horror and sci-fi genre, having starred in Pan's Labyrinth as both the Faun and the Pale Man. He also appeared in last year's John Dies at the End, where he played the role of Roger North. And he starred as Abe Sapien in Hellboy.
He also starred in a bunch of TV shows and voiced a whole host of video games. The man does keep very busy.
Raze is currently at theatres in the US and also on demand.
However, at this point we can't find a DVD or Blu-ray release date.
Now, the premise of the film, with its imprisoned females caught in a game of deadly combat, combined with the poster for the film and the opening of the movie too, which was fairly brutal, as we got to see two combatants fight to the death with fairly violent and bloody results, well, that all made me think that we would be in for a cool little exploitation flick that's in the style of any number of women in prison movies.
What did you fight, Joe?
I fought a rabbit.
That's not too bad.
Wonder who's next.
Back to not me.
Don't think it works like that, Mark.
Could Sean please report to the battle room? I repeat, Sean to the battle room.
Good luck.
whole, I have to say the movie was pretty average, although there were a few points we should probably go over. The problem is that after the opening sequence Mark mentioned, things soon start to go downhill. There are supposedly 50 women that were abducted to fight each other, but we only get introduced to 6 of them, one of which is Sabrina.
Unfortunately, we also get introduced to Phoebe, who's played by Rebecca Marshall. Now, the problem with her character is that she's supposed to be like a main antagonist, but she just ends up being an annoying pillock. And then after she's introduced, she's then out of the film for around 40 minutes at least. So it's kind of pointless to suggest her as a villain, but then leave her out of the film until almost the very end. There are numerous other problems too, as the characters are very one-dimensional, with no real reason to give a toss about who wins or loses. Other than not wanting Phoebe to win, of course, as she was such an annoyance.
There wasn't just downsides to this movie, there was highlights too.
Yeah, Zoe Bell was excellent as the main protagonist, Sabrina, and gave a kick-ass performance and sold the whole thing. Come to think about it, the acting was a big plus point for me, as everyone seemed to play their parts really well. The action, makeup and gore effects were all superb too. The use of blood packs over CGI gave this feature a sense of reality to its brutality.
However, I just don't think the film took those elements far enough.
I found the fight scenes to be well choreographed and put together, with only one instance of hair pulling, so it gave off the impression that these catfights were between lionesses rather than the average house moggy.
I would have liked to have known the whole reason for why the fights are taking place. Joseph does give some kind of odd explanation about wanting to make an empowered female or something, but to be honest, I didn't really get what he was on about. Nor did I see the point in it, as the victor is then supposedly set free at the end of it all. The fights are being watched, but whether that's for entertainment purposes or for gambling, it just isn't explained.
If I could fix a few things about this flick, I would take a look at Sabrina's past and get into the whole story of her child and her being an ex-prisoner of war, as that could have made for some really interesting storytelling.
However, these things are only hinted at and glossed over pretty easily.
Raze also had a really strange pacing to the movie, and through large chunks of the film I felt lost and wondering whereabouts in the timeline I was, as there were a few flashback sequences that gave you a small insight into the character's past, but not enough to really make you care for them. The only reason you had to feel empathy towards them was the fact that their loved ones would be executed should they lose, and this was never delved into enough for my taste.
With a gritty grindhouse style and a simple plot of women fighting to the death for their loved ones, this film had it all. Gore, action and suspense, and plus having Zoe Bell playing her role fantastically, I suggest you go see this when you can.
To sum things up nicely, I would have to say that if you're into chicks brutally beating each other, then this is your type of film. If you're after a comprehensive story filled with complexities and emotion, this is not for you. It's one of those flicks where you can't really say it was awesome, but it wasn't awful either.
I'm really disappointed in this film, as it just didn't work. It had the opportunity to either be a cool little exploitation flick or vicious fight competition with hints of battle royale in there, but it just ended up being rather lacklustre. It's a real shame, as there's a great cast, and when the film gets it right, it does it really well. But those good, gripping moments were just too few and far between to make this anything more than just an idle curiosity to waste a bit of time with.
Mark, please report to the battle room. Mark, to the battle room.
Guess it's your turn, Mark.
How hard can it be? You fought a rabbit, you fought a bloody turtle. I could beat the crap out of any animal, any day. Back before my tea's even cold. See you in a minute, fellas.
Thanks for watching this film review for Raze. If you've seen this movie and have a differing opinion to what we have, then post any thoughts below. If you prefer, tweet to @ChapterSkip and use #ChapterSkip2. If you like what we did in this video and want to watch more, click the playlist annotation and head back to watch our previous videos. And finally, before you go, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks.
And also on a demand. Demand.
On a demand.
On a demand!
Under the woman? No, it's on the demand.
Joseph, played by Josh Bollocks. I nearly had that. I said Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh Bollocks.